funny that you actually brought that up, because I was talking to a friend about that today, and when we were editing it, and Robin Stratton was the editor on this book, as she was on another one of Mike's books, both of them actually?
On Charlie's book.
Charlie's book.
Sure.
And we got to that point in the book, and I said, someone's going to read this and say, is she out of her mind? Like, because you're seeing all the red flags, and, but I think when you're in the thick of it, just like anything, you don't, I had this one vision in my head, and I was just pushing everything aside, and so I wasn't looking at it with 20/20 hindsight.
Right.
I was looking at it in the moment.
Well, of course, when you're writing it, you're looking at it 20/20.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, because one of the things that was just, you said that you wanted her to come visit you, and she said, I can't, it's such a busy time for Patrick, and you know how hard it is for me to travel, it takes a long time to prepare, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking to myself, you're having a baby for this woman. You are putting your body and your mind and your life through this for this woman, and she can't even, come to visit you when you're recovering from having her an attempted baby for her. That didn't raise anything at all. It wasn't in your mind.
Well,
there wasn't any little part of you inside that said, well, wait a second, why isn't she coming here,
Well, no, of course, I was very upset, and, but I just think like anything else in friendships that I knew what she was all about. I knew what her illness was all about, and I made excuses probably for her for a good portion of her life. So it really wasn't any different at that point. It just was more emotional because I was, having a baby for her. But I have a very good knack of trying to look at all sides of a picture, and I could see what her issue was. And the fact of the matter was that geographically she was so far away from me that she wasn't connecting to the whole situation. And I think that it really speaks to, being pregnant and connecting to a pregnancy versus watching a pregnancy happen. And she wasn't doing either because she was so far away. So, was I making excuses for her? Did I see red flags? Yeah, maybe. And then I had my brother, so it was just, I had to do it again.
Yeah, one of the things that, of course, makes a good book is interesting characters. And there are many interesting characters, including your own, in this thing, which we get one side of, we get your side. It would be interesting if someone else had written, about their experience with you, but as well. But one of the things I thought was really fascinating was the portrayal of her husband. Yeah, he didn't come across well in this book at all. I don't know if that was a realistic portrayal or not, but every time he seemed to call you or talk to you, he was denigrating you in his wife's name. And and in fact, I won't mention later on what happens, but even in a call that he made years later, he managed to slam you in it too. And this was the baby, his baby you were having. Was there a time where you said to yourself, wait a second, I know Meg's my friend, but her husband, this is the guy that's going to be the father, raising this child. Did it never enter your head, or?
I don't know. Do you have relationships with couples where you like one person better than the other?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
but I haven't had their kids, though.
No, that's true. But
I haven't had them to raise my child.
I've knew her since I was 16, and I was doing it for her. This was her choice for a mate. It was not mine. It was her choice for the father of her child, not mine. And I never really thought, like, I'm doing this. I guess I never really said, well, could I do it for her, but I can't do it for him. They were a couple, and I was doing it for her. And it just never dawned on me that, to separate the two.
Yeah.
She wanted a baby.
Yeah. And you went to camp together, and you were friends. But in essence, she lived far away, and you didn't really get together that frequently. So in essence, you were friends, but you weren't really friends because you didn't really know her that well.
No, I knew her intimately.
Well,
I don't think you have to be, live in the next town or, in the next house to be, that close to somebody.
Well, see, you said you know her really well, but I'm reading the book here, and I'm not thinking you knew her that well at all.
I think I knew her really well.
Yeah? So you were expecting exactly what you did?
No.
No.
I wasn't
So you
expecting
didn't know her
it,
that
but,
well then.
Well, I don't know that, I don't know that you can, first of all, you can't project in a situation like this what's going to happen. I mean, this is a life-altering situation. We're not talking about me taking her out for dinner and her not thanking me. I mean, we're not talking about that. So was I going to project how she was going to act or how he was going to act in the hall? No, I couldn't possibly. I just had to go on what what we were trying to attempt to do. So I don't. I don't know. To say I didn't know her, I don't know. I don't know if that's fair.
Now, your children were young during this time.
Yeah.
They were very young. Do they have any memories of all this stuff? And what did they think when they read the book? I assume that they've read it.
Yep. My daughter loved it because she was turning 2 at that point, and she doesn't remember much of it. So she thought it was pretty cool because she's in it, and now she was like reliving it. My son was much more, he was 6, and so he knew, and he does remember, and they're thrilled, so they're excited.
Yeah, I would assume that, especially for your son and your daughter, it might have been a little difficult time for them, although they might have had fun with Joanne when she was taking care of them and stuff like that, but still, Mom wasn't around as much. And when Mom was around, she was sick some of the time, too.
Yeah, but I was around. I mean, I was around. It just, it was, I mean, it was difficult for everybody, but it was, it was exciting. It was, it was kind of cool. So it was different, certainly.
You mentioned that this was about 20 years ago, right?
No, 13.
13, okay, 13 years ago. So, and times have changed. The things that you had to go through, the shots, all these different things that they put you through, do they still have to do the same thing now?
I mean, I'm not up on what they're doing now. I think it's probably obviously more refined than it was. But yes, I mean, basically you have to go through hormone shots, and that doesn't change. That doesn't change. I don't know what happens from the psychological aspect of surrogacy, and every state is different now, and there's different laws than there were then, and we could do it in some states and not then, and the same still holds.
The little baby you had, have you had any contact at all
No.
or any knowledge about what's happened to her?
No.
None. Do you have a curiosity in your mind?
Of course.
And have you done anything at all to try to find out about her?
No.
See, there's an internet now.
Yeah. Not my place.
You don't think so?
Nope.
I know if it was me, obviously you can't, contact her or do anything like that's overt, but certainly on the internet, you can find out where she's going to school.
I know about her through friends. I know that she doesn't know that I exist.
The parents never told her.
No.
Yeah. That's if you
You're giving too much of the book away.
No, not really, because it's actually that part's not even in the book. I mean, that's some things that's supposition afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, but because I'm assuming reading this that was the case, that the parents didn't tell her anything, because it just seems that way from the book. You got to read this book. It's a great book.
Thank
it really
you.
is. It's a really
Thank you.
wonderful book. What kind of things does this say, though? I know it's a book about friendship and how well you know people and about the family, and there's so many things that go through this thing. But if I was thinking about having a surrogate, this might, being someone's surrogate, it might actually give you a little bit of pause.
Yeah, it might.
Yeah.
But then you have to keep in mind that this was not a surrogacy that was a paid surrogacy. I mean, I had a contract with her, obviously, but it wasn't a paid surrogacy. I wasn't hired, so I think it has a different tone to it. I think it's true with anything that you're not having a biological child. I mean, adoption, it gives you pause, because there's so many, there can be stories of, adoption that are horrible, but, in the end, there's a baby, and, in the end, that's good.
Yeah.
So... and same with adoption. In the end, there's a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that you just talked about, a contract, one of the things that she told you that she was going to do was pay for all your expenses and your clothes and stuff like that. It's pretty well illustrated in here that you were doing a lot of the stuff yourself, and she wasn't really making herself available to do a lot of these things that you wanted to, people had taught, and then mentioning the clothes you were wearing and things like that. And were there times where you got all frustrated from that and just said, hey, I can't believe I'm doing this, and this is just...
Sure, there were times where I was frustrated, and there were times where I was upset about it, but I mean, it was minor in the scheme of things as far as, the actual end result was the baby. The trouble is, it was a relationship. It wasn't, I couldn't say, I have a contract with you and you're supposed to buy me clothes. That's not what our relationship was. So I wasn't going to ask. I was waiting for her to offer. It was that whole, you say you're supposed to do something and why aren't you doing it kind of thing, but I wasn't going to say, I need clothes. Like, every now and then I did, or she'd, clue in, but again, she wasn't there, so she wasn't seeing what was happening to my body, so she wasn't saying, gee, Laura, we need clothes. So, it's just the dynamic was just odd.
I guess the question everybody probably asked you the same question, if you could, had the same choice and knew what was going to happen, would you do it over again? Would you still do it?
If I knew what was going to happen, so...
Everything. If you knew exactly what was going to happen, that people can find out if they read My Body, Their Baby, which you can get at Van Fenwick.